All right, welcome back in to the Hoist the Colors podcast, the Bucks on the Pond podcast. It is Sunday night. East Carolina baseball is 3-0. They started the season with a sweep. It is a great day to be a Pirate. ECU basketball has won 3 games in a row for the first time since entering the league 10 years ago. They have won 7 conference games, so we'll be covering a lot of basketball this week. But we are talking baseball as always on Bucks on the Pond. Also, shout out to softball, 11-1. Women's tennis, I think, has won 4 in a row. It is a great time to be a Pirate. It's so great of a time to be a Pirate, guys, that Scott Lorbatcher wants to get as close as possible to the camera. Scott, how's it going, man?
Just up close and personal. You know, when you see success, you just want to get closer and closer to it. So here we are.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go around the horn in a little bit and get big takeaways. As always, we're live on YouTube. If you're watching our live stream, you can leave a comment, a question, a concern. Let us know. And if you're concerned about my voice, sorry, allergy season, I guess, has already started. I actually feel fine. I don't know what has happened to my voice, but it's been gone since Friday. So I'm trying to figure that out. Jonathan Wagner is here. He's in the upper right-hand corner. Scott is to the bottom if you're watching our live stream, and then I am into the upper left-hand corner. If you're listening to the podcast, catch us live every night at 9 o'clock if you want to interact. But Jonathan, you were at Friday's game, and it's good to see you there. And how about those Pirates, baby?
Yeah, that was a real in-depth description of where we are on the screen. Yeah, I can tell Igo's really ready. He's going through all the details here, and but yeah, man, it was a baseball's back. Well, I think all of us have been waiting for it. But man, this is my favorite time of the year. I was so antsy on Friday that I left Raleigh at like 11 o'clock, and I got there, ate lunch, and I was there when gates opened. Watched BP for both teams. So I'm a little bit of a college baseball sicko, absolutely. But it's the best time of the year, and you couldn't have really asked for a better weekend if you were ECU.
By the way, shout out to Parker with ECU Marketing for playing International Harvester in the first inning, and got to experience that. Nothing like watching Pirate baseball while listening to that. All right, guys. We already got our first question. Who takes the mound against the Camels Tuesday night? We'll get into that. All right. Big takeaways. Again, keep your comments, questions coming. We'll get into that shortly. Big takeaways. Let's go around the horn. We'll start with Scott Lorbatcher. We'll go one big takeaway per person from opening weekend as ECU sweeps Ryder. Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, JJC. 6 hits and 12 at bats. 5 of those going for extra bases. You see that line drive, gap to gap power. He also went long ball as well. Just looks like he's completely back. After his tough time last year. Just really, really great to see. And obviously, Parker Bird getting his first plate appearance as a Pirate, it's hard not to pick that as your takeaway. That should go without saying that was just a really awesome moment for all of Greenville and Pirate Nation.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I think to me what really stood out was just looking at the offense. And I think last year a gripe that I had is that this team gave away too many strikes, whether it's showing bunt on first pitch and then taking it away, just take signs. But really, I thought this team had a new approach, and I thought it really paid off. And I think I saw there were 3 times that I noticed were 3-0 count green lights. And they weren't the mainstay lineup guys that have been regulars every day and for past years. They were the Cam Claunch, Dixon Williams, and Bristol Carter. So to me, I know you were facing Ryder, and their pitching is what it is. But to me, that speaks volumes about the confidence that the staff has in this lineup. And I do think you saw a new approach, and I think it really paid off. And if they keep going against the better pitching they'll face later on, this offense could be a lot better than I think people expected to be coming in.
Yeah, my takeaway was Jacob Jenkins Cowart. So you kind of took mine, Scott, but good pick. So I'm going to pivot, and I'll go just the overall depth and kind of playing off Wags. But I just feel like there are, 14, 15 guys who could start as everyday players on this team. Cliff Godwin has said it, and it's cliche to say, but I really do feel like, Cam Claunch, Bristol Carter, Chaz Myers, like some of these guys that only started a game or came off the bench this weekend. Colby Wallace, we didn't even really see this weekend, but he's a guy that we've heard could play his way into one of those roles. McChrystal, of course, started on Saturday, but could start for a lot of programs in the country. So I feel like there is legitimate depth here, and we saw that. So, like, every time these guys are getting at bats late in games, they're trying to make them count. And, I don't know how you fill out a lineup card and leave Claunch or don't start Bristol Carter, but then you look around the dime and you kind of understand it. But there's a lot. ECU's in a good situation is how I would put it. And I got to say, too, though, guys, I was pretty disappointed from Ryder. Like, I expected more. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I definitely was. And again, I didn't do all my homework on Ryder coming in. I don't know what they lost from last year, and I didn't go that deep into it. But I mean, that was a tournament team last year that won a game in the tournament, and I expected at least a little bit of a fight. And they really didn't give it to it. They weren't competitive at all, and I don't know. Maybe that does speak to like we were going on, and maybe ECU is that good, but also Ryder. I think they were a little bit of a letdown for opening weekend competition wise.
I'd go the other way with it. Ryder played pretty clean baseball the whole weekend, especially defensively. And I think in their league, they're not going to face the starting pitching that they faced against us, right? I mean, they didn't really have many guys, or if any, that threw in the mid 90s or even low 90s. They didn't really have the opportunity to string hits together. And I think it just goes to ECU's depth that our bullpen was so well prepared, even after our starters came out. I think you could see 5 or 6 guys on our team that would be their Friday night starter, which is unfortunate for them, but probably pretty typical of a MAC with 2A's team. But they made one error on a windy ball at third base. They didn't make a lot of mistakes mentally or in the field or on the base pass. So I thought they were a good first opponent to where we still had to earn it. We still had to go string at bats together. And, I think we're just a lot better this year than maybe we've been in the past and made a team that would normally give us fits look even worse than maybe they really were.
Yeah, I mean, that is a fair point. The thing that ECU did was they just jumped on a Ryder pretty much every single game. And so I feel like they didn't even have a chance to really get into it. But I don't know. Like, I just didn't like watching it live. Like, they had maybe one arm that topped 89, if that. So, like, the pitching wise just wasn't much of a test. The Kyle Neri guy was a stud, though. And you said he played at Bryant, so it's only fitting that he hit a home run, right? Right, Scott?
He didn't play at Bryant. He went to Bryant. He was there, but did not participate in the athletic events while he was
waiting.
on the baseball team. Much like me in high school, he was on the team but not in the game.
And hopefully, for ECU's sake, as JPN points out, hopefully Ryder has a great year. I mean, because that would be fantastic. For ECU's RPI perspective, they had a top 100 RPI last year, so that would be great if it could happen again. But ECU just dominant, guys. 30-2, the final score from all 3 games. East Carolina on the mound struck out 37. They walked 8. Batting average against 111. ECU as a team hit 350. So, I mean, you couldn't have drawn it up, I don't think, much better, Wags, as far as like, expectations going in. I think we're pretty high, but now I don't know, maybe they're higher. I'm trying to keep them in check because it's Ryder, but it could go on much better.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we've touched on it, but really in every facet of the game, I think hitting wise, like I touched on earlier, the approach I thought was a lot better than what I thought it would be, especially for a first weekend. You're still getting the kinks out of it a little bit, but the offense really all around from top to bottom, quality at bats. We know quality at bats mean a lot around here. And boy, there were a lot of them. Pitching wise, you confident from Trey Savage on Friday night to the last guy to the bullpen, Corey Costello today, Danny Beal coming in. You didn't need your top 2 guys out of the bullpen. And I think that speaks volumes to improved depth on the team and depth that you're able to trust early in the season. And they showed it.
All right, Johnny Robertson says so many superlatives, but one thing that stood out to me in Game 1 was that the Pirates had 12 at-bats with the bases loaded and successfully scored at least 1 run in 10 of those opportunities. So Johnny's stats always coming with the. Yeah, I thought the situational hitting was good all weekend, Scott.
A NOAC hit and run play that worked out pretty well. He got guys in position to score, and we brought them in, which we saw far too often not happen last year. So it's good to get out of the way early this year, and hopefully we can keep that going because these next 4 games are going to be significantly harder than the first 3.
All right, before we jump into the comments section, was there any area of the game? I don't want to say concern because it's too early to be concerned, but like I don't know, any area that you guys want to see more of or improved for ECU going forward, just based off this extremely small sample size. We'll start with Wags from that perspective. Anything that the Pirates need to clean up?
Yeah, and I don't know if cleaning up is the way I would go with this, but I do, and it's a small sample size, and it's tough to say this given that I think the defense was pretty good all weekend. But I do think you also saw at times that maybe it is going to be an adjustment at third base, specifically infield defense. I think Dixon Williams, he might not have the range that AMAC did last year. He might not have the arm, and I think that's still going to be a feeling out process as we go. And we talked about Joey Barini at shortstop. How has his range improved? I don't think we really saw a lot of opportunities to really gauge that yet. So I think infield defense as a whole is something that I'm still waiting and seeing, and I'm hoping that it improves a little bit. Not that it was necessarily bad.
What did you think, Scott?
Sure. To piggyback on Wag's point, the guy he mentioned had more errors than our whole team did this weekend. That guy that left. But no, for me, and it's not really something to improve upon because it's something that you kind of expect this early in the season. But I think the starters went 13.2 innings this weekend. You'll see that get stretched out over the year. But I thought that was really good. But obviously, we're going to want to see those guys go, 5, 6, 7 innings, probably starting in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Good thoughts. Yeah, I think I would just say defense, again, for the most part, clean. But when you get into these 1-2 run games, which I think will start to happen this week, a lot of that stuff will be magnified, and I think we'll get a much better feel for those type of things. It was great to see Wilcoxon gun somebody out today. That brought back lots of memories from last year. All right, let's get into some of these comments. As always, as you guys weigh in, that'll guide the show, and we will hit on many of these. So, hey, you know the deal. We can't have a podcast without discussing a potential midweek starter. And Austin Parker wants to know who takes the mound against the Camels Tuesday night. By the way, Campbell wins 2 out of 3 over UC Santa Barbara, top 25 series win. So good for them after losing the opener big. ECU could go basically any scenario they want based on how the weekend played out outside of the obvious, Savage, Root, and Hunter. Scott, do you have a gut feel on who you would like to see or who you think we'll see on Tuesday?
Yeah, I think there was a reason that Kaler was the first guy out of the bullpen. I think that you get him in there, get him some reps early, get those first game nerves out, and then you maximize the amount of rest that he can have before Tuesday night. I'd expect to see him, give us – I would probably max it out at 3 innings to start the year on Tuesday night, but I think it's obviously Kaler coming out.
I think it'll be Kaler or Norby. I haven't looked into like Campbell's splits, but that could play a factor. But I agree. It just seems to make sense. So it'll be totally somebody different, right, Wax?
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if it was anybody but Kaler. So, yeah, it's definitely not going to be him now. But I think, like Scott said, I think it's going to be a 3 innings type of thing, and then probably someone like Ethan Norby comes in, probably 2 innings out of him. But, then you have Danny Beal, you have Wyatt, Lunsford Jenkman, you have everyone. So everyone's available after that. So it's all hands on deck. So it could be just one of those classic bullpen situational type games, which we've come to know and love at ECU.
Yeah, and we'll see who Campbell throws. Somebody already said their Saturday starter from last year didn't throw on opening weekend. Let's hope that they're not doing that again. But we'll see. By the way, we'll talk to Cliff Godwin, 94.3 the game at 10 a.m. tomorrow on Monday if you're listening to Sunday night. And so we'll see if we have a starter by then. Chris Allen says, I'm guessing that JJC is feeling good down under. Great weekend for him. Yeah, what'd you say, Scott? 6 for 12?
6 for 12, 5 extra base hits, and 2
Jeez.
stolen bases.
2 steals. A lot of talk about his steal, and Parker Bird was up. Like, ECU has been stealing bases with 8, 9-run leads for years under Cliff Godwin. This is not a new thing. It didn't happen just because Parker Bird was hitting. So people need to stop with that. Yeah, the extra base power guys and going backside, he's already locked in. I mean, you touched on it earlier, Scott, but Wags, how key do you think that is just for, to have that presence right away as ECU starts this season?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what I started with. Just the approach, I think, has been so much better from top to bottom. But with JC specifically, I mean, if he's going like that all year long, then this team's going to go pretty deep, I think. And, I mean, it started off, his first extra base hit was backside double to the left center gap, and he had 3 more doubles, I think, and a triple, and they all went pretty much the same place. And his homer today, when he did pull side, cleared the scoreboard casually, So if he's locked in like that, and if he gets going like we know he can do, then, like I said, it just adds more strength in the middle of this lineup. And I think it'll open up guys that are hitting behind him as well, because I think they'll start pitching around JC a little bit more, even guys in front of him, and it'll only help everyone. But JC, he couldn't have asked for a better start, and I'm hoping he's only getting started.
All right, Chris Allen wants to know, is Trey Yesavage our Sunday starter? How dare he give up the 2 runs? What do y'all think? Is it time to push the big guy back?
Well, he only gave up 1, so we'll let it slide.
That is true. Chris, you got to check your facts, bro. So Norby gave up the other run.
Yeah. Savage Norby. Is
Giving
it
up
Neary or Neari? Because
I have no idea.
Scooter pronounced it different on Saturday than the guy on Friday did.
I have no idea. I'm going to say Scooter got it right. He usually knows his stuff.
I'll trust Scooter. Scooter
for play-by-play job. Full time. All right. If ECU makes the Omaha, is that a bigger and better story than Parker? He says Parker Boyd. I'm guessing Parker Bird. I mean, why can't we just have both stories, guys? Why can't we have Parker Bird hitting a walk-off in Omaha? By the way, so let's touch on the Parker Bird stuff just because, I mean, we have to. Incredible moment Friday. And, I kind of like that they did it in the opener, or were able to do it in the opener, due to the situation. And obviously Parker kind of getting the opportunity to go out there. And obviously I'm sure there were nerves, emotion, everything, just getting that chance, the team getting that chance right away. And now I think we'll see it again down the line, if not this coming week. But incredible moment. It was surreal watching unfold in person. And Wags, you were there, correct? Had you already left that time, or are you still there?
Oh no, I was there. I didn't leave until right before the game ended. So, but I think, I was sitting in the stands and talking just at the game with the people around me. It's kind of like, I wonder when that will happen, and it's when that will happen, not if that will happen.
Right.
And Cliff said it before the season. He said he's going to get in at bat, and you start to blow it open on Friday night, and you're like, wow, maybe this is going to happen tonight. And my seat, I love my seat because it's pretty much right in line with the third base left field line, so I can see right into the dugout. So as soon as I saw Parker Bird emerge with the helmet on, I'm like, oh my God, here we go. And it was surreal. It's one of the coolest moments I've ever witnessed in sports, non-sports, anything. And just the crowd, there was not a single person, whether it was a Rider fan or an ECU fan, that was not on their feet when he came up to the plate. It was something I'll remember forever. I think this entire program will remember forever. And if this team does go to Omaha, I think, like you said, both stories are going to coexist, and both are pretty awesome.
I was glad to see it get the recognition it deserved. I mean, I was kind of worried that I knew it would go viral to an extent, but I was like, is this going to get the recognition it deserves for the amount of work Parker has put in? And obviously it blew up, and I think it's just kind of the beginning. But Scott, you were watching on television, but I'm sure emotionally, man, still pretty awesome to witness.
For sure, yeah. I actually got to see into the dugout as they came back from the break, and I saw the camera panned and Parker turned with the helmet on, and you saw Bird on the back with the helmet on. I was like, oh, he's about to come into the game. I think I texted you guys like immediately. So I knew it was coming, and then JC got hit with a pitch immediately. And I was like, I could not wait to hear the crowd pop of him walking up to the plate, and it didn't disappoint, and it for sure got the recognition that it deserved from national news all the way down to MLB and big podcasters reposting it. I've had a ton of people text me or reach out that aren't necessarily even college baseball in general fans to talk about how great of a moment it was, and it really was. And I don't think that going to Omaha would overshadow that in any way. And it in those two stories combined would be an even bigger moment for ECU, for Parker, for people who have started to look up to him as a model of resilience and determination and perseverance. And I think he deserves all of that because I can't imagine, one as a baseball player growing up going through something like that, especially at that talent level, and then two as a parent. I got choked up when I saw the replay of his mom and dad in the stands because, now that I have kids, I couldn't imagine seeing my daughter or my son go through something like that and then fighting for 19 months to live their dream. And it's, I can feel my eyes sweating now, just thinking about it. It was just a really awesome moment. And I'm just really proud of Cliff and Parker and the program to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, I'm the same way, Scott. I held it together pretty good, but when I saw the replay of his parents, man, I about lost it because same way now having two kids, like it's an whether you have kids or not, like Wags, you can speak this is just you can put yourself in Parker's shoes, you can put yourself in the parents' shoes. Obviously, if you have a sibling, if you're one of Parker's siblings, you can put yourself in their shoes. Like it's it's hard to put into words what he's been through, and to have like his attitude about it, guys. I mean, he sat there after the game. He was like signing autographs with all the kids for like 30, 40 minutes, and every time we've interviewed him or he's been asked to be interviewed, he has had such a positive attitude. So I can't imagine it happening to somebody who has handled it better than he has, because it's been amazing. So really looking forward to seeing how the story unfolds. And he's going to get a hit. He's going to do some awesome things. He's going to play the field at some point, I'm sure. So really looking forward to following the Parker Bird story. All right, let's transition now as best as possible to let's see, next comment here. So Austin Parker, I feel like we just overlooked Jacob Starling, guys. Like, dude just goes out, has another weekend. What does he do? Hits 2 bombs, 3 RBI. By the way, gets hit by 3 pitches on opening day. What a way to start your season. But Jacob Starling is just a stud, and Wags, I think he's going to be consistent. There's a reason at least 2 of us, right, picked him to lead the team in batting average.
Yeah, I think so.
Did you pick him?
I think I did. I can't remember, to be honest. I wrote it down somewhere, but
so maybe all 3 of us.
I said he would hit over 400.
I think we all 3 did. Yeah.
So, first off, did you like where? Did you like how the lineup kind of played out on opening weekend? By the way, with Starlin hitting where he did, I don't know. Would you have moved any chess pieces around?
Yeah, I think, and I mean, first of all, just with Starling specifically, I think he hit two home runs. I think he had a good weekend, but it was a very quiet good weekend that I think has nothing to do with Jacob Starling and everything to do with the strength of the lineup around him. And again, that speaks volumes. But I mean, lineup wise, I mean, if Riley Johnson is playing, he should probably be leading off. And personally, I like Starling in the 2-hole. That's why I think I penciled him in. So I'm glad he's there. And, the 3-hole, I think Wilcoxon didn't have a great weekend at the plate. So, what happens there? Does JC move up or do they just let it ride? And Justin Wilcoxon, he's gonna find it. He's gonna get hot. Polar opposite of what he did last year to open the season. But he's a bat. And I mean, again, 1 through 9, there's really not one place you can go and say, man, they really, maybe we need to make a change here. And it's opening weekend, but I liked how it was configured personally. I like Barini in the 9 hole and Nowak down in that 7 to 8 hole and Carter Cunningham 5-6, Dixon following him. So I like the way it was configured. And I think there's still so many other ways you can change it around depending on who is in a lineup every day.
Yeah, I liked, I don't know if we'll talk about him a ton on tonight's podcast, but I really like Dixon Williams' approach opening weekend. Of course, he had 375 guys, but 5 walks, no strikeouts. Pretty solid. What did you think of Dixon? And did you have any other standout, Scott, outside of JC, just from a hitting perspective?
Yeah, I think Riley Johnson had 3 stolen bases, was 3 for 3. Overall, team speed was really good this entire weekend, which is good to see. Base running is really important. As far as the lineup goes, I like what we had. I would maybe move Wilcoxon down to 5 and move JJC and Cunningham up 1 spot each, but I mean that's super nitpicky. Just the lineup top to bottom all hit the ball. I mean, to start the year off with 9 straight base runners, we talk about things we had never seen before this weekend. There was a ton of them. We had a balk reversal. That was
Yeah.
new.
What was that?
9 straight guys reached the plate. 9 straight guys reached to start the season. Obviously, Parker Bird. I don't know that I've seen a player hit a ball over that scoreboard very often either, like JC did today. So just a great weekend of first times.
All right, JPN 1212 says need to take 3 out of 4 this week. If we sweep all 4, he feels like we can win the Natty. JPN, what if the Pirates lose to Campbell and then we win 2 out of 3 against UNC? Are they going to lose in a regional?
Is that super regional territory again?
Hey, 4-0 though, guys. He's calling the Natty. I'd tell you what, the Pirates could go 2-2 or worse this week, and they can still win the Natty because there's 50 games left. Chris Allen wants to know if the season ended today, do we host a regional? I don't know, Scott. You are RPI-ologist. What do you got?
I don't know. Our RPI is like 50 something.
Wow. Cancel the season.
It would be hard to host with a 50 something RPI, but we are number 11 in most of the polls, so maybe they would let it slide.
Skull Pirate says better than Bryant. I don't know if he's talking about Ryder or just in general the result. Yeah, he did say, I think on Friday's show on 94.3 The Game, he was like, don't let Bryant happen again. Yeah, 30-2, ECU outscored Ryder. I think that the Pirates avoided that blunder for sure. Dan Rosenblum says, why has the assault on the full pinstripes continued? Tease on Saturday with the pinstripe pants, but it's the best uni combo we have. I guess, I mean, guys, at this point, right, it's just the midweek home uniform, correct?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Is it?
Well, I feel like they randomly break it out on a random like Saturday sometimes, though. Maybe they did last year. I feel like they did, but it really feels like that home midweek when you're not wearing the powder purples. And yeah, it's terrible. I love the pinstripes.
If they wear powder purples, if they wear powder purples over pinstripes, I'm leaving.
Well, Campbell will wear their all-black softball uniforms, and then we can wear our powder purples, and it can just look like a men's league game on a Tuesday night.
Wasn't that basically what last year's crazy game was?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, hey, if it results in that type of drama, maybe they should wear it more often.
Agreed.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the pinstripes are definitely the best unis, Dan. But ECU's got, great unis. I have to say, though, I'm not a big fan of the purple. I don't know. It's just like East Carolina's kind of mashed together, and then it's like the number underneath. I love the purple, like the color. I just don't love the design. I still love the gold unis, man. I think the Pirates on Sunday is sharp. I can't stand the camo hats. I know the reason behind it is great. But if you can give me the gold unis, white pants with the white hat and the purple lid, I can't even talk. The brim, I'm feeling that. I don't know. What do y'all think? What's y'all's favorite unis?
And I mean, for me, I think, and like Chris Allen just said in the chat, the Leclerc Classic, the 23 uniforms,
Yeah, I mean
those are the best.
those
But
are elite.
outside of that, I love the pinstripes. Personally, I love the black jerseys. And I like those on the road with the gray pants. I like that look, but I like it at home with the white pants too. I love black jerseys just in general. So I like that one, maybe not utilized enough. So yeah, there's so many options to pick from.
Yeah, I'm a long time advocate of the pinstripes. Those are definitely my favorite. But I actually saw something today. It was a highlight, but it was all white, so white pants, white jersey with a white hat with the purple brim. That's a really clean look too. That's great. And then obviously the gold jerseys on Sunday. Those are some of my favorite. I do agree on the purple jerseys. Those are not my favorite, but they're so quintessentially ECU to have like a purple uniform. It's hard to be like, well, I don't like our purples, but
Yeah.
um, maybe we can get those reworked at some point.
Skull Pirate says camo helmets on Sunday or they will never make Omaha. Is he saying they need to add like the batting helmets camo?
I
Sounds
think
like a
so.
great thing for Skull Pirate to donate to the program.
Skull Pirate, if they wear camo helmets, I'm done. Don't they have like camo-ish batting warm-ups now? Wag, you saw them
Yeah.
on Friday.
Yeah, it's like that camo type, but it's purple and
It's an acceptable form of camo.
yeah, that
That's
was
what I would say.
I'm not gonna lie, when I got up and I took a picture right behind home plate, it wasn't until I sat down in my seat that I realized I'm like, oh wait, that's us. And I didn't know what color rider was, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm like, okay, those are kind of sick, that's better than what I expected out of a rider. And I'm like, oh wow, they're us. I kind of like those.
Once again, ECU baseball has fantastic gear that only they have, and it's not for sale for the general public.
Every time Cliff Godwin puts on a new hoodie, I get at least 3 texts about where can I buy that hoodie, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't think it's for sale,
Well,
but one
Club
day maybe.
23, there you go. You want to raise more money? Steal a bunch of apparel from the baseball team and put it for sale on the site.
It would work. There's no doubt. By the way, the Team Boneyard Sup Dogs Crush bottles are just sold out like hotcakes. So, by the way, support that. All right, Duncan, this is a question for, I guess, both of you guys now because y'all follow the polls in baseball a lot closer than I do around the country this time of year. Duncan Patrick, I feel like his name is backwards. Shouldn't it be Patrick Duncan? I don't know. Sorry, Duncan. All right, any huge movement, Duncan Patrick asks, expected in the polls this week? Seems like everyone around us took care of business. Duke likely to jump us from their success down in Myrtle. What do you got, Scott? What can Pirate fans expect to be mad about come the new poll release?
Well, if Baylor can find a way to claw back and beat Tennessee, maybe we can move up one spot. 12 of the top 25 teams have lost this weekend. 4 had losing records. One of those is Florida at number 2. They lost one game to St. John's. They're not going to move. Coastal and UCSB will drop a little bit. I think Northeastern falls out of the poll. One team will jump in. I could be Campbell, but I doubt it. But no, I don't think Duke will jump us. I think they had a great weekend. If they stay hot and we don't, then they'll jump us. But I don't expect to see a ton of movement, especially for teams that had sweeps over the weekend in the first week of the polls. And to be clear, when I say polls, I only mean the D1 baseball poll because I don't care about any of the other ones.
Except for the 0-3 projections, right?
Oh, yes. Obviously those.
Wags, I remember when ECU got swept by Bryant, there were some polls that dropped ECU way out. I think D1 kept ECU in. It's very rare you get big movement early in the season because, the prognosticators believe in the teams they preseason rank. So do you expect any movement or is it going to be kind of ho-hum for the most part?
Yeah, I think Scott pretty much nailed it. I do think going into today, if FAU would have beaten Vanderbilt, I think Vanderbilt could have fallen to that range that we're in now in the 11-12 maybe. And that's more of teams like ECU and Duke are going to move up. But Vanderbilt, they won today. They won the series. They're not going to drop. And I don't know. I think UCSB, I think they could fall out. It just depends on how high D1 baseball is on those other teams on the outside. I think Auburn's a team they're high on. Indiana, I think, is a team they liked and impressed me over this weekend. And I know they lost a game. They went 2-1, so they probably won't move up this week. But if it was up to me, I think they maybe would. But what's up to me and what's up to the polls makers are different conversations. But overall, I think it's going to be kind of on par as to what they were going into the season, minus a couple guys moving up 2 spots or 1 spot, but nothing really outside of that. I don't think Alabama can move up though from 19, I think, into that top 15 range.
Give me Indiana State as the new team in the top 25, replacing Northeastern.
There you go. Scott has called his shot. Stay tuned for that. David Leake wants to know, what's the general feeling on the strength of Ryder? Obviously, they lost a ton of pieces from last year, but I wasn't expecting the smackdown we saw this weekend. How much of that is just ECU being good? We touched on this earlier, but for David, who is joining us late, I wasn't too impressed by Ryder. Scott said he feels like a lot of it is ECU. I think it's a combination. Wags, I can't remember if we got your in-depth take on this. What do you think about Ryder versus how much of it was ECU?
Yeah, I was pretty much with you, and I think it was that Ryder was disappointing, and I think they were really disappointing. But again, like Scott said, and they played clean defense, and I think really they did about all they could. I do think ECU is just, in comparison to Ryder, that good. And if Ryder, even if they didn't lose if they had the exact same team they had last year, maybe this is a different weekend. But in the end, I think ECU still sweeps. So in the end, I think it does say more just ECU has a good team, and they played just about as good as you possibly could have on opening weekend, and that's what it comes down to.
All right, Skull Pirate is back. He says, just beat Campbell. Have to beat Campbell. Even if you lose to UNC, it's okay towards the end of the season. Skull, so you're willing to sacrifice a midweek game to get swept by UNC. I know, guys, that last year the Campbell series was painful, but Campbell was a great team last year. They might be a great team this year. Obviously, you don't want to get swept in the midweek, but I would say I would take a Campbell loss if it meant ECU winning the series versus UNC. Am I wrong on that? What do you think, Scott?
I think weekends matter, and they matter more than anything else in college baseball, especially early in the season and for the top 25 polls. You're going to see a lot more movement. If you went 2-2 this week and you lost 1 on Tuesday and you lost 1, say, Sunday, you're likely not going to move very far in the polls. If you went 2-2, but you won Tuesday and then went 1-2 on the weekend, you're going to slide down 3 or 4 spots. That's just the way that it's always been with college baseball. And it kind of proves what you're going to have come regional and super regional time when you're playing, guys Friday, Saturday, and Sunday starters.
What do you think, Wags? Is Skull on drugs, or is he got a point here?
Yeah, he might be on something. I just think you look at last year, and ECU struggled on midweeks, and that was probably the difference between hosting and not hosting. And they lost, so ECU was not on the right side looking in. So, I think winning those midweeks can maybe give you the boost you need to get into a host, but to get into the conversation, you have to win weekends. And with ECU, the American, we'll see how it plays out. Not a good start at all. I don't think we want to depress ourselves and go down that road right now. But the American, not off to a good start. So I think RPI-wise, you got to take advantage of the ones you get. So you got to win them all. But I just think weekends I would prioritize more, again, just so you can be in the conversation to begin with.
56-0 is what the Pirates have to go, right? I mean, that's the only option. Skull Pirate says the midweeks keep ECU out of hosting territory, period. Yeah, but if you lose every weekend game, that's going to
not even in the conversation.
More. Yeah, so he adds, assuming they hold their own on the weekends. Well, getting swept by UNC is not holding your own on the weekends. I mean, if you lose a series, that's one thing. You cannot just go flat and get swept. All right. Skull, I can't figure out if you're on drugs or not because this is actually a good point. He says, I'll never stop complaining until we have road grays. Yeah, it is absolutely unacceptable that you are a baseball team that does not have a road gray uniform. This is not ECU's fault. This is Adidas' fault. They can't match grays. They can't match a gray jersey and a gray pant, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard for a freaking apparel company. Get out. You'll make me lose my voice again, Adidas. God, screw you guys. I don't have anything to say. You guys agree with me. I know you do.
You could do what Ryder did and wear two different blacks.
Did they really do that?
Their black tops and their black pants were not the same color.
Do we know what apparel company they used?
I'm gonna go with
Reebok. Champion. Somebody let us know what company Ryder is associated with. All right. Let's see where I was here. William Alexander says the fact we dominated so badly this weekend, we get to talk about jerseys. It is fantastic. Pirate Nation showing out this weekend. By the way, guys, would y'all believe that this was the third highest? Let me make sure I get this right. The third highest weekend series attendance in Clark LeClaire Stadium history for like a series. So for any 3-game series, this was the third highest series total, which is pretty crazy considering it's Ryder and considering it was pretty not so great weather. But it was a great crowd really every day. Today was not great, but you had the basketball going on. You still had 4,100. So I was impressed. What did you think of the crowd on Friday, Wags?
Yeah, I think not only was it a good crowd, and it was pretty filled in, especially out in the jungle on both sides. I thought students showed out too, which was really nice to see. But not only was the crowd there, but I mean, they were engaged, they were into the game. And obviously we heard it when, Parker Bird came to the plate, but it was like that throughout. I mean, just in terms of you got the crowd pops and stuff happened, and the crowd made a difference, and they always do. But I think it did feel a little more so this weekend, and the weather was really nice on Friday. I'll say that. I know it was a little colder Saturday, Sunday, and I wasn't out there for those games. But Friday, the weather was nice. It was approaching high 50s. Maybe it hit 60, but it was right around there. A little bit of wind as the sun went down. But, man, you talked about opening weather weekend. I think we'll take this pretty much 9 times out of 10.
Absolutely. All right, JPN 1212 says, what were the 2 series that had higher attendance? I don't know, JPN. I'll try to find out, and I will report back. Apparently, Ryder is Adidas, and Ryder had gray uniforms today. So I'm calling BS on something. Who are we blaming this on? Are we blaming Adidas, or are we blaming ECU for not ordering gray uniforms?
But did they match? Or did anyone notice if they did?
I didn't notice. I was there today. I didn't pay that close attention to it because, honestly, I was too busy enamored by the gold perfection of ECU's uniforms.
That's a good point.
Which is Adidas. Great job, Adidas. You actually can do something positive. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just confused now. Why can't we have gray road uniforms? I just want to know. Somebody tell me.
I think maybe Cliff sweats too much. He doesn't want the gray pants. I've been there. It's okay.
Skull Pirate says Cliff hates gray. They actually had gray unis back in what was it, whatever year they played on the road at Virginia. They had gray matching uniforms because I have pictures of it.
I just want to say I'm going through Ryder's at least their Barnes and Noble, their team, or not their team, but their university store right now, and it looks like there's a lot of champion stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, I agree. Give us grays. The 2 worst things in baseball are not having gray uniforms and turf fields.
Turf field. Speaking of turf fields, somebody said earlier that I hope we come out of the Campbell Health. Wait. Oh, he's saying healthy. I hope we come out of the Campbell game healthy. I guess you guys got after it today with the drinking. I hope we come out of the Campbell game healthy, playing on their tire rubber field. I agree. I mean, Joannier's been hurt there. Spencer Brickhouse has been hurt there. I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out, but there was like a span of like 3 years in a row where ECU had a player hurt there, Scott. So get the win and get the hell out.
They're in Houston. Houston was our other kind of scary place to play. I believe that is a question from one Dr. Hoops, who was at ECU at the same time that I was. Played some intramural basketball together. So, yeah, let's just get out of there healthy, get a win, get out of there quick.
The attendance, according to Chris Allen, says the attendance stats prove we are a baseball school. All money in our athletic department should be given to baseball. Let's make the first baseball school. Build a 20K stadium. Win all titles. Look, as much as I would love to see that happen, I'm a baseball guy. I mean, you could make a 20K stadium, but today the attendance was 4,100. And what are you probably going to get, like 5,000 to 6,000 most days? So let's just win in football, basketball, and baseball. How about that? Like today,
Let's just win.
Pirates are a basketball and baseball school.
Yeah.
Just win, baby.
Just
Shout
win.
out RJ Felton, 1,000 points.
1,000 points. That's a hell of an achievement, especially for ECU basketball. So congrats to RJ. Chris says I'm obviously kidding, but let's be real. The only school we can win a title is baseball. I agree with that. And the Pirates will win a title this year. All right, let's see a conference title. Let's see here. Any other questions I missed going back through? Because we've had quite the discussion on random stuff. While I look through these comments, Wags, I'll pitch it to you from a pitching perspective. We haven't really talked too much about the pitching, so let's hit on that. I thought Jake Hunter looked great today, man. His off speed was much improved. Splitter, cutter was getting multiple swings and misses. You Savage and Root, I mean, they did their job. I think this pitching staff has a chance to be pretty good, and I think we just really scratched the surface this weekend from what we saw.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Trey came in, and I think Cliff said it after the game, both about Trey and Zach. And I think neither of them were maybe at their best, but they were still really effective. And just the amount of strikeouts. And we saw what Zach Root can do. His velocity was up into the 95 range. And so that's a little bit of a tick up from last year. And then Jake Hunter comes out today and probably has the best start of the weekend. He goes the deepest out of all those three guys. And I think after he got through those, 2 walks in the first inning today, he was pretty much cruised through it. Didn't give up a hit until his 5th inning, I think. So Jake Hunter impressed. And we talked about Chris Kaler earlier. He looked really good. And I do think something I noticed out of this pitching staff is they're not waiting around. They're not wasting time. And with Kaler and Norby, when I was there on Friday, I noticed neither of them had the ball in their hand still. When the pitch clock got to like 16 seconds, it's 4 seconds and the ball's out of their hand. And I think that, first of all, that's kind of crazy. But the fact that they were able to move that fast and still be as effective as they were just speaks volumes. I think Austin Knight's done a hell of a job with his team. And I think we're only seeing the surface because Jackson DiLorenzo, he got some movement. Corey Costello came in and pitched well today, I thought. Eric Ritchie did well. And, again, like I said earlier, you didn't need Wyatt Lunchel-Chinkman. You didn't need Danny Beal outside of the limited stuff they saw today. And you were still in pretty good shape coming out of it. And obviously the competition will get a little tougher. But if this is the start and they keep going on this range, then this pitching staff could be the best we've ever seen maybe.
JPN 1212 says if Hunter can cut down on the free passes, he was a little erratic in the first, but I think that, Jake Hunter has always been a strike thrower. I'm not too worried about that. Fastball command wasn't there early, and once he settled in, I think he'll be fine. So I honestly, to go 5 innings and get 1 hit and struggle in the first, I was very encouraged by that. What did you make of the pitching, Scott? Anything else stand out this weekend?
Yeah, I thought our starters were great, and I don't think any of them had their absolute best stuff. As far as Hunter goes, you can walk guys if you're not giving up hits. You can't do both. You can't give up hits and walks. That's how you get in trouble. But I think Savage has a ton of space in between what his best was and what he showed on Friday night. I thought Root looked good, but I think he has much more in the tank than what he showed. And Jake Hunter as a Sunday guy that's going to come in, get guys out, and give you some length. He pitched the longest out of anybody this weekend. And those guys gave up a 111 batting average. I think they had 5 hits all weekend. So, just a great job. 21 strikeouts, only 6 walks from the starters. If starting pitching can carry this team, then it frees up so much for those midweeks to where if you do go, 2 innings a guy, you have those guys are available and they're not gassed from Saturday and Sunday.
All right. Ryan Williford says, where's the people who wanted Austin Knight fired? Look, I mean, if anybody wanted Austin Knight fired, I mean, ECU had one of the best strikeout to walk ratios in college baseball last year. In his first year as pitching coach, they started slow, finished strong, without a starting pitcher. So, yeah, I mean, Austin Knight is clearly a very good pitching coach. All right. Skull Pirate says ECU will never be a basketball school. We got to stop that. Skull, why don't you go cheer for UNC, Duke, whatever lame ass school you cheer for, and enjoy that. Leave the ECU basketball discussion to us. Wags is a giant ECU basketball fan, so I don't want to hear it. Johnny Robertson says Coach Godwin and Justin Hare are the only two coaches in the nation that have won either a regular season or conference tournament title in each of the last 5 full seasons. Yeah, I mean, Campbell's a great program. ECU is a great program. I'm glad they play the series. I always look forward to the schedule coming out, guys. There's always that Tuesday game at Campbell, the first road game of the year. And Pirates 0-1, man. I mean, last year sucked. Let's be honest, if you're an ECU fan. So ECU wants to put it on Campbell Tuesday. Do we think the Pirates do it? Let's go early prediction. Wags, do the Pirates get some revenge on the Camels?
Yes, I think they do. And I just don't see how and I know Campbell had a good weekend too, but I mean they lost 20-8 on Friday. So they didn't start exactly off how they wanted to. But ECU, I mean, they came out, they didn't let up. And again, I just think it comes down to what we've preached on this entire show tonight is ECU's offensive approach was so good and so improved, I think, from last year. And the pitching was obviously really good too. And you're fresh going into it. ECU can pitch whoever they want to outside of the 3 that started this weekend. Everyone's on the table. And I'm sure if you're in the position where you need them, everyone will pitch. And I'm going to say ECU comes with a pretty convincing win over Campbell. I'm that confident going into it.
Scott, you'll be making the trip. How many adult beverages will you consume, and will you try and get into the Campbell's players' heads? Are you one of those fans who just kind of sits back and relaxes, or do you try and like chirp at the other team?
Well, I have not been drinking during the week this year, so we'll see how that goes on Tuesday.
That's going to change.
It may change, but yeah, no, I'm probably just going to be a sit back and observe type guy. In my younger days, I was a holler at the team guy. Now I'm more of this is a moment of peace with a 5-year-old and a 15-month-old at home. You don't get a lot of quiet time, so I will take some peaceful quiet because I believe I'm going to the game solo. So if you're there, say hi. But I do think we win. I do think this is a team that will score some runs. I don't think Campbell has the pitching depth that they had last year. You know, in a ton of respect to Campbell, by the way. I mean, they've turned out not just good college baseball players. I mean, you got guys like Zach Neto and Cedric Mullins that are stars in the major leagues now. I mean, they're having careers that, you know, at ECU, we haven't seen a ton of guys do that, especially as position players. So, you know, give them a lot of credit. They're in a new league this year that's going to be a little bit tougher. They started the year off against a really tough team, but I think we have a better lineup this year to help lead the way. We won't be in these 2-1 game type games again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it'll be a tightly contested game just due to how good Campbell is. I do think ECU is going to be extra prepared, extra focused. Lineup will be better top to bottom, and the pitching, I think, sets up well after the way opening weekend played out. So ECU can throw its best arms. I don't have the Campbell scouting report on what arms they did or didn't use, but I think the Pirates get some revenge. Ron Williford wants to know, why do we never play Campbell in a weekend series? I guess just because it's more of a drivable game, easy midweek game. It would be a great weekend series for sure. So maybe one day. And Skull Pirate says he'll meet you there, Scott. Apparently he's going to the game. He also asked me how many times have I stormed the court at an ECU basketball game. I have you beat. Skull, I've lived in Greenville since 1992. I went to all the Conference USA games. I saw them upset Marquette twice, Louisville, Memphis, You name it. I was there when they beat NC State. So if you want to go down that path, buddy, we'll go down that path. Keep cheering for Duke and UNC.
But did you storm the court against UTEP in 2007?
I did. I was at that game. I did not.
Pirate did. So he's got you there.
Courtney Captain, baby.
Courtney Captain senior night.
That was a great moment for an absolutely abysmal team. Y'all really stormed the court for that one?
We all 20 of us in the student section were on the court after that.
Hey, y'all deserved it after that season. So here's a good question. I don't know if we have time to answer this unless we just want to give a quick version. Chris Allen says tomorrow is President's Day. Who would be on the ECU baseball Mount Rushmore? I mean, wow. we'd all have to do our eras. Do we want to do this quickly, or should we save this for next week's show? What do y'all think?
I like it on the fly. No research, just guys you know.
All right. Who wants to start it?
I'll start.
Go for it.
So it's 4, right? 4 is your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, 4.
I think, obviously, LeClair's 1. For me, I'd have Kyle Roller on there. He's my favorite player, so he would be on there. I think you have to put, honestly, at this point, Cliff on there. It's a player and a coach. I don't think anybody is touching his resume. And give me Alec Burleson.
Good picks. Wags, you want me to go or do you want to go?
No, I'll go. I mean, I think I agree. I'm going to go LeClair and Cliff. I think they have to be on there. And I was going to have Burley on there too. I was going to have someone like Gavin on there, even though he didn't maybe do it for as long. But he's so good and he's making such an impact at the MLB level that I think you kind of have to. And again, I'm a little younger. I haven't been around the program quite as long, but a little recency bias. But I think that would maybe be my 4. But, man, I love those energy guys like a Zach Agnos and those kind of guys too. So there's plenty of options.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously got to have LeClair and Cliff for obvious reasons. I'm going to go player only, though. So I'm going to exclude those guys. But obviously, if I was making a true one, they would be up there. Chad Tracy, player. Like, I just remember as a kid, he was just a stud. I mean, that whole 09 team. But Kyle Roller, man, like, I just remember just walking the concourses, watching him drop bombs. I don't know what his official stats were, but they were a lot of home runs. Chad Tracy, Kyle Roller, Alec Burleson, two-way guy, absolute beast. And then I am torn between Bryant Packard, Connor Norby, Gavin Williams, because they're all so good. I mean, Jake Agnos is up there too. Zach Agnos is up there too.
Evan
Krasinski, Travis Watkins. I mean, the epic hit, the walk-off at Virginia, 2 homers at Texas Tech.
Corey Kemp.
Corey Kemp was also a stud.
Brady Lloyd's mullet.
I guess I'll go. I'm gonna go Watkins. I mean, he not single-handedly, but he hit the walk-off at Virginia, and then he beat Texas Tech with the 2 home runs. So I'm gonna go Watkins, and it's hard to leave off like a Seth Maness though. Like, how did none of us pick Seth Maness? So I mean, there's too many to name, guys.
That's a Pinecrest guy. I'm offended with myself.
Yeah. I was shocked that Wags wasn't just 4 Pinecrest guys.
Seth Cadell, Colby Wallace, Seth Maness.
Ryder
Giles. Yeah. So, yeah, by the way, cheap plug, but I'll have Connor Norby on my show. I already recorded the interview 94 through the game. That'll probably air Tuesday. We got Cam Claunch in studio tomorrow. We'll also talk to Cliff Godwin. So, all right, guys, we did that. Good stuff on the fly. We'll come up with a more official one at some point in the offseason. David Leake, by the way, he asked this question. Wags, touch on this before we get out of here, because you've hit on this a lot. Felt like the hitting approach was a lot more loose in the series. Maybe I'll hit on this earlier, but do you think the new coaches have helped the players feel more free in the box?
Yeah, and like I think it's important to note that we're not in there for the day to day. We don't know necessarily what's different in terms of what's Cliff telling them to do, what's Cliff instructing them to do, and how much freedom the new guys have. Brian Packard, I think, is someone who's very valuable as a younger guy to come in who had so much success here. So I think it only helps. Him and Henry Lartigue, both great. But I did notice it seemed a little bit more aggressive. I do agree, more free. And I mentioned it, I think the first thing I said on this podcast was I noticed 3 different green lights on 3-0 counts today. And it wasn't from those lineup mainstays like the Wilcoxon, Starling, Jenkins, Cowart. It was Bristol Carter, Dixon Williams, and Cam Clutch. So I just think there is a little more freedom with this team. I think it speaks to the confidence, and I think it's a little bit different, and I think it'll only help, and I think it'll continue to get better as you do face better pitching too.
And we're still going to see sack bunts. We saw McChrystal. We saw Nowak. Are those the only 2 sacks of the weekend? Or am I missing some?
Off the top of my head, I think so.
I've got it. Yeah, 2 sack hits, Nowak and McChrystal, according to the official stats.
I think Raleigh Johnson showed bunt a couple of times and pulled it back.
That is true. Fake Bunt Fan Club.
Fake Bunt Fan Club.
Swashbuckling shirts, right?
That's right.
Check it out, Etsy. Order. There were 2 people in the press box who told me they enjoyed that shirt, Scott. So
yeah, there you go. Order one.
It spreads. All right, we're going to get out of here. It's been an hour. It's been a day. ECU basketball, shout out again. Skull Pirate, how about you go to a damn game? And William Alexander, by the way, says his Mount Rushmore: Keith LeClaire, Cliff Gobb, and Chad Tracy, Adam Witter. That's a good 4 as well. And then Dan says he would include Lawhorn and Seth Maness. I'm guessing he means Daryl Lawhorn instead of Trevor. Or maybe he wants to go Lawhorn Brothers. All right, we're going to get out of here. Actually, you know what? We got to make our weekly prediction.
I wasn't going to let us go away without doing that. So
that's my fault, guys. Me. All right, week prediction. Wags, you started off. You ready to go?
All right, like I said, I think convincing win against Campbell, and I think the Carolina series is going to be one. Carolina, they struggled on defense, they struggled on pitching. They can hit the crap out of the ball. So I think they're going to steal one game, but I think ECU will go 3-1. And my bold prediction of the week will be, I'm making this on the fly, but Bristol Carter will hit his first career home run.
Yeah, I'll go 3-1. I think we win at Campbell. We'll have a comeback win on Friday night because I can only go to the front half of the game. We'll lose on Saturday because I'll be there for the whole game, and then we'll win on Sunday. My bold prediction is that the North Carolina State Wolfpack will lose their series at Hawaii. They're going on a long flight, and we'll see them drop significantly in the top 25. They'll continue to play bad defense, and they'll lose the Rainbow Warriors.
I loved every second of that.
I didn't even know that Hawaii had a baseball team.
Played Ole Miss this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They get swept?
I think they still won.
Okay.
I think they played 2 yesterday. I think they played 4, yeah.
I think they have like a really good coach, like a famous coach that has MLB experience.
I'm going to go 3-1 as well. Win at Campbell, win at Chapel Hill, lose Fayetteville, win in Greenville to win the series and cap a good week. Are we going bold predictions around the horn? We're just going to throw that out.
I know I am.
I'm going to go Zach Root, 7 innings, 1 run or less on Saturday.
So then we lose.
Yes, it's going to. Oh, man, good call. Yeah, you know what? I'm still going with it. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Did we all just go 3-1? So you're welcome when we sweep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Skull Pirate says, going to make me wait 7 more days for this podcast. Skull, we will be back next Sunday. I think the week after that, Wags and I have a fantasy draft. We may have to move the podcast to Monday.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so otherwise it would be absolute chaos. Check us out.
Fantasy draft and podcast.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah. All my picks will be done by the time we get on air.
Skull, if you need something to pass you by, check out 94.3 The Game daily. We got plenty of baseball talk there, and we'll talk like 2 minutes of UNC basketball for you. So, all right, we're gonna get out of here. This has been a fun show. Hopefully next week my my voice is better, but appreciate you guys as always. We'll see you next Sunday night. This has been the Hoist the Colors podcast, Bucks on the Pond. We'll talk to you next week.